Hey everyone, welcome back to Adobe Live. Thank you all so much for joining me today. My name is Cody and I will be your host for the next hour. So this is a show called Illustrating Stories. If you haven't checked it out before, basically what I've been doing is I am taking a story couplets written by my husband and I am actually illustrating them on stream. And while we're doing that, I am at the same time kind of taking characters from my old artwork and kind of like reusing them in our new illustrations. So I can just go ahead and say hey to everybody in chat. Hey, Umacorn, Annika, Oliver, Katarina, it's good to see you guys after our long 1 week break from Adobe Live. It feels like it's been forever since I've streamed. So I kind of have to like get back into the swing of things here. But I am going to pop on over to Photoshop now so I can show you guys what we're working with. So we're going to be doing a little kind of like carnival scene-ish. We're going to be working with these two little characters here. I actually drew these guys in 2018, I think, so it's been a while. I don't normally draw humans, so it's the very rare occasion of human. And we are going to be sketching on the stream today. So bear with me while I try to draw long hair because it is the bane of my artistic existence. But today's couplet is my best friend, Billy the Bear. My best friend is Billy the Bear. Our favorite place to go is the Old County Fair. So we are going to be drawing Billy the Bear and our unnamed little friend. If you guys would like to throw out some name suggestions for our little female friend character, please feel free to put them in chat. I am all for wanting to, name our unnamed character since our bear friend has a name now. Bear with her. Yes, exactly. Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. Dog cam, yes, you might see my golden retriever Winnie walking in the background here a little bit. Okay, so I last minute here just started kind of like lightly sketching out what we might do. I was considering doing just like a little scene with them, like maybe holding cotton candy or something and walking around the park. Here's our little friend. There she is. There's there's my humans. And then maybe, maybe like a silhouette of like a roller coaster in the background or something, or maybe like a little carousel, like kind of peeking in. There's our little horse and a little carousel or something like that. Or maybe we could also, I was kind of sitting here thinking we could do them like on a roller coaster, which could be fun, like something like this. I was actually like right before we went live, I kind of thought about this, and then they're like sitting in the roller coaster with their hands like, yeah, crazy. Woo! Although that's setting myself up for a new challenge of drawing long hair also in movement. So, there's that. But so yeah, there's our little, roller coaster. And then we could do like little like animal friends, like here's a woo, and whoa, that's a really long trunk. An elephant with his trunk like woo, blowing in the wind. Woo. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you want to do? Do you want to do them just like walking around the park with cotton candies and ice creams and treats? Or do you want to do roller coaster extravaganza? I don't know. I honestly can't decide. I'll go with either one that you guys want to see. Hey Joshua, welcome. Claire, good to see you. Hey Sin, thank you so much for joining. Good to see you. Name her Butters. Butters and Billy and Butters. Annika votes for roller coaster extravaganza. Claire says roller coaster. Okay. Okay, you guys want to see roller coaster? Of course, it's the more fun one, right? It's the movement. I don't do a lot of like movement, like strong movement in my illustrations very often, so I feel like it's totally a change of pace. So we have this little like thing that I just drew right here, but let's go ahead and just frame it out like officially. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I am going to just hold down Shift so we can make a little frame here with our straight lines. And then I am going to just lasso this piece here. We might edit it as we go, but I just want to kind of stick it into an actual frame so we can see what it would look like. And I want to make it small enough that the top of the roller coaster is showing. Something like that, maybe. And then like maybe in the background, deselect, then maybe in the background we could have just like farmland or something, since we did say this is like an old country fair. Like maybe we can have just like those little like farmland squares, you know what I'm talking about? Like that you see like when there's like plain illustrations or something, and you got like the little tree rows in the middle there. And then maybe we could have like some fun little cloud shapes over here to kind of like fill in that space, something like that. Maybe we'll leave the clouds a little bit lower coming onto the roller coaster so we can kind of keep that silhouette going right there. Have this go straight across. I've never drawn a roller coaster before, so again, this is like totally new. A bird, a surprise bird. Yeah, you want to make sure those birds are out of the way of the roller coaster, huh? But bird is a good idea. I'm thinking like maybe we could put like maybe like some little birds right here. Birds are always a really great interest piece to put into a sky scene because they kind of just like add that little bit of life and detail to your scenes. Like if you're looking to just like add just this tiny little amount of interest, like there's some little birds, something like that. And then we have our little trees and like the little rows, you know, of farmland back here. Something like that. And maybe we'll have one coming over here. Okay. And let's see, I'm debating if I want to keep it simple or if I want to actually draw the other side of the track going. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Like that? No, I think I'll just leave it solid. I think I'll just go ahead and leave the supports solid and then just black out this space here. So we won't be seeing the other side of the track. Because if I did do that, we would also have to draw in like the other farmland that's behind the coaster. And I think that would just end up being a little bit too busy. So let's just keep it a little bit more simple. Also, I want to ask, how was everyone's week off from Adobe Live? I know obviously not everyone had the week off of work, but since we haven't really talked to you guys in a week, it's nice to just like catch up and stuff. So yeah, it's really nice to be back streaming again. It feels like I said earlier, it feels like it's been ages, even though it's only been a week. Okay. Let's see. So we have, yeah, I drew 3 cars in this little sketch. So we have our little elephant here, our little elephant friend. And what kind of animal should we draw in the middle car here? So we have 2 cars. Let's kind of space this out a little bit better. Let's draw it better. So we need a little friend for this car here. Whatever you guys want to suggest. Joshua says, I missed Adobe Live last week. Yes, totally. It's so nice to be back. I'm glad to see you guys back. And thank you so much for joining in too. Also, by the way, if you guys didn't catch today's streams, this week we are doing Offset Week with Ryan Selvey. And he is going to be hosting all kinds of lovely guests. If you guys want to catch those streams this week, that is mainly what we're going to be streaming. But we also have all of our regular community streams in the evening or afternoon rather as well. So yeah, check out the schedule just below the live stream on Behance if you want to see what we got going on. Okay, there we go. Kind of just drawing in a little bit more detail, kind of fleshing out these shapes here. A koala, a lizard. Oh my gosh. You guys are really trying to challenge me today, aren't you? Blank. Barbara says blank. You think that I should leave it blank? That's a possibility. I could, let's see. I don't know, like, maybe we should draw another car back here, or would that be too much? Almost looks like a little ballet slipper. A dog could work too. All of these are great suggestions, honestly. Like, should we, I feel like having the back car empty is a good idea because it kind of just like draws your eye down. A crocodile. I have drawn a crocodile before. Let's see. I'm trying to decide here. And also I want to actually draw in a few more details here. I want to also draw in, oh, you know what? Let's see. So if I hold down Shift, I'm actually going to much easier be able to draw in the track. And with these supports that we're showing here, this is most likely going to be a wooden track. And I feel like a wooden track kind of fits the idea of like a country fair or a county fair, rather. So I'm just holding Shift and kind of like having them come closer and closer together, just like to help signify that perspective that's kind of like going off into the distance like that. Or should it be small because the elephant is big? True. I should probably scale the elephant up a little bit. That could be cute too. So it's like a really big character and a small cart, you know? That could be cute. So let's do that. Let's scale. I think I'm going to leave the back cart empty. And then I think I'm going to scale the elephant up a little bit. Let's see, what layer is that on? That's on this layer. Actually, they're kind of, oh, here we go. Put these two together. Lasso this friend here. I'm gonna scale him up. Big elephant friend. Probably over the weight limit for this wooden shaky roller coaster. Oh, Barbara says the week was a blank. I see. No context. No context. Okay. Let's pull this in a little bit. There we go. And maybe, let's see. What are we thinking? Let's also erase some of this under sketch here. Oops. A hedgehog, a bit too small. Just little tiny mice. That would be funny. You know what I could do? I think I will do a small animal because I think that that's kind of like a fun change of pace. But it's going to be bigger than what it normally would be. Let's just try to like draw in like a little mouse character and see what that looks like. Like a little friend here. He's just like, whoa. Woo! And his tail's kind of like out blowing in the wind there. Hey, Alessandra, how are you doing? Welcome. Okay. So we're looking good so far on that. I'm going to flesh out, I need to flesh out Billy and Butters. Hey, Ashful. Ash. Wow, I can't speak today. Ashraful, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? But then the elephant would be scared of the mouse. That's funny. Okay. So we're pulling the ears of the bear back to signify the pushing of the wind. And let's have their little arms coming up like this. And let's see, let's put his other arm back here. And her arm here. And I guess in front of his arm like that. I'm doing well. How about you, Cody? I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining in today. Appreciate you guys being here. Okay. Obviously, this is very rough right now. I hope you guys can even tell what's happening in this image. So let's throw in his little muzzle, and I'll worry about like the facial expressions and stuff when we get into like a cleaner sketch phase. But we're just kind of like, kind of blocking it in right now. Okay. So we have his little, again, for those of you that are just coming in, by the way, so we are illustrating a couplet written by my husband that is my best friend is Billy the Bear. Our favorite place is the Old County Fair. And we are drawing characters that redrawing characters that I created in 2018. And these are our little friends. Billy was named by my husband, and Butters was named by Sin Lagos. And we are drawing them on a little roller coaster right now. So we're kind of just like going through the bit of a sketch phase, just kind of blocking in our characters a little bit. We're kind of figuring out what's going on. And we will figure out all of the details later. But right now, so we're kind of like fleshing out the bear's clothing. So we have like his little cardigan. So we can kind of draw in these little lines here. And she's wearing overalls, actually. So she's got her overalls on. I know this is kind of a low-res image, but she's got her little overalls on, and she's got a little bear patch. And then she's also wearing short sleeves, actually. So I'll throw on her little short sleeves here. And her little overalls. Something like that. And I am probably going to struggle the most, like I said, with her hair. So I literally don't even know how I am going to draw her hair. That I am going to figure out at a later time as well. So we will just block in a shape of some kind for now. And yeah, okay. So let's clean up our little mouse friend here. There's that, and we have our little elephant. Let's flesh out his little trunk here a little bit better. Okay. Cool. I think I like that. That's cute. And then maybe we could add like some little like whoosh lines, you know? Some little whoosh lines. Cool. Claire says, love seeing the whole sketch phase and etc. Yeah, I don't always sketch on stream just because sometimes it's like really stressful for me. But today I just decided that I was just gonna go for it. And honestly, this is a pretty intense like drawing for me, like just for me and my style. Like I said earlier, I just don't normally draw a lot of movement. So but I think that I think it's going good so far. I like it. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and scale this sketch up. I'm not worried about losing resolution on the sketch because I don't really need it to be I don't really need it to be high res because I'm going to be painting over top of it. So that's just typically how I work. I usually will just draw really small at first, and then I'll scale everything up. So I'm just going to actually, I don't want to hide this necessarily because I think I'm going to do color this time. My other illustrations for this show I've done have been in black and white. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and do color. I think that this image kind of calls for it to be colorful. I think that that'll be fun. But I'm still going to give it kind of a frame as if it were like on the page of a book and maybe kind of like framed into a shape instead of like a full page bleed, just for funs, just to kind of change it up a little bit. So all the illustrations on this show aren't black and white. And I actually really like the color palette of this original illustration. So I think we're going to just stick with that. And maybe, I haven't done this watercolor technique in quite a few years. I could try to recreate that, but I don't exactly remember how I did it. But I could try. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Claire says, oh, wow, I got lucky catching you with this live with color too. Yeah, color is so fun. It really is. So, okay. So just to block in the shape, what I'm going to do is I am just going to, typically for my illustrations, I really like to have a cream sky. That's just what I do. It's just kind of my thing. So I like to have like a cream colored sky rather than a blue colored sky because I don't really use blue very often, although ironically there is blue in this illustration. But maybe I'll change my mind. But I am going to block out this background shape with this cream color first. And I'm going to use gouache perfecto. That's not the brush that I used originally. I think I actually used to use Fat Fun Spongy. That was the brush that I used to use, but I don't have it in my favorites list right now, so I'm not exactly sure where I could find it. But I really like gouache perfecto. It's really nice for color dynamics. That's what I've been using lately. So for my color dynamics, basically what it does for me is that when I put my brush down here, let me grab a different color so you guys can see it better. So when I put my brush down and then pick it back up and then put it back down, it actually has a differing variation of that color. So it kind of very effortlessly gives me a painterly look without having to choose a bunch of different colors. So the settings that I have on my color dynamics, I have hue jitter at 0. I actually don't personally change the hue jitter, at least not right now. But saturation jitter I have at 11% and brightness jitter I have at 2%. So it just kind of changes the saturation and brightness just a tad, just enough to kind of give it a little bit of variation for my brush strokes, and also make sure apply per tip is turned off. If it's turned on, it will actually do this weird, like, if I zoom in here, you can see it's kind of like doing this weird, like, jittery thing. It's actually changing the color a bunch of different times in one single stroke. So you want to make sure that that's turned off, so then it's solid, and then until you pick up your brush again, and then it changes the color when you put it back down. So I am going to pop on over here. I'm going to grab this creamy color. And I'm going to make a new layer. And we're just going to kind of like loosely follow this shape. And I'm also going to give it kind of some rounded corners, similarly to how I have the other original illustration, kind of just like a hand-painted frame a little bit, you know? Let's move this guy out of the way. Put that up there. This color's a little bit too peachy. I might move it over. Just gonna hue shift it just slightly to yellow. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I'm just locking transparency so I can brush over the things that I've already just painted with the new color that I just chose. Okay, now I'm going to unlock transparency so I can paint on that layer again. And I'm kind of like just painting around my objects as well, just because I like to try to give it a little bit more of a traditional look. So it kind of like helps vary your brush strokes a little bit more by painting around your objects. Like I could, since we're working in layers, I could just paint like over top of everything like this. Like, but that kind of like causes my brush strokes to be very straight and uniform. So I want to try to avoid that. Okay. Now that we have a frame, I'm not going to worry about, well, maybe I will fill it out because I could, if I fill it out completely, then we can just use clipping masks over top of this frame and for our other layers. And then it would allow us to be able to paint inside the frame without going outside that shape that we created. But so in that case, since the rest of this is going to get painted over, I'm just going to go ahead and brush right over top of this with a hard round brush, because we're not really worried about this part of the illustration getting seen. Okay. So let's go ahead and lower this opacity. I am actually going to paint. How can I get that Adobe cap? I got it from The Adobe online store during Max. I don't know if they still have them in stock now. But and I actually don't know the link off the top of my head for the Adobe store, but you could probably just Google like Adobe online shop or something like that. But I got it during Max, like I said, so I'm not exactly sure if they have them now. I don't know if it's something that they keep it in stock all the time. Okay, so I'm going to grab, I think I'm actually going to grab this background color here. Is that pure white? I don't think it is. No, it's not. Okay, so I'm going to grab this cream color here. Yeah. And we are going to make a clipping mask. So I'm actually going to go down to the bottom and make a new layer. And then I'm actually going to hold Alt and move my mouse in between these two layers until I see the little drop down arrow. And then I'm going to click, and that's going to create a clipping mask inside of this frame that we just created. So what that means is that I'm going to be able to paint on top of this, on this layer inside of that frame shape. So I'm going to lower the opacity of the frame just so we can see the sketch underneath it. And then I am going to take Gouache Perfecto, and I am actually going to paint in our little clouds. And I can paint all over here. As you can see, this color isn't going outside of the frame shape. Oh, that is not a great color. So the reason that that's not a great color is that the values aren't correct. As you can see, while looking at this kind of like yellowy cream color of the background and this cream color, it's just there isn't enough contrast between these two things. That's it's like too close in value. So it's kind of like, when you look at it, it's kind of like making your eyes vibrate. So to be able to check values, actually, I can just go ahead and show you guys how to do this too, since we're working on that. I'm going to make a new layer over top of everything, and I'm going to fill it with black. And then I'm going to change the blending mode of the layer to color, so we can actually see our illustration in black and white. And you can see that the value is so close that it's basically exactly the same, because you literally can't even see the clouds anymore. So what I'm going to do is I am going to lock the transparency on these clouds. And you know what? I am going to just attempt to make the sky blue. Like I said, I don't work with blue very often. So I don't know how this is going to work out, but let's just go ahead and try. This is actually not blue, it's gray. But let's see. Since the blue in this illustration, I'm just gonna select this blue and see how it looks. I'm just gonna throw in some hard round here and go like this. It's kind of a dark blue for a day at the county fair. Something like that. That could work. I could see that working. Okay, so we're gonna have the entire frame be this blue color. And then we're gonna unlock the transparency, and then I can come back in and grab my Gouache Perfecto. And you know what? No, actually, instead of Gouache Perfecto, I did say that I was gonna recreate this watercolor texture that I did on my other illustrations. So I'm going to lock the transparency again on that background. And I am going to grab one of my favorite Kyle Webster brushes, and that is called Natural Edge Painter 1. There's a few of them, but that's from Kyle Webster's watercolor pack. And I really love this brush. It's actually set to multiply, so you can kind of layer it. And I just really, what I love about this brush is that it kind of like blends itself out as you paint over top of it. It's just like, just brush magic. I really have no idea how this works because it's not like a live brush that you find in like fresco or anything like that, but it's just a really nice realistic looking watercolor texture, and that's basically how I got the effect on for all of the shading on this illustration. It's actually exclusively how I used to paint until I started using more chalky textures. So I'm going to lower the opacity on this just a little bit so I can see where the sky is. Okay, the sky is only showing above the clouds. So I am going to, and also remember, just like real watercolors, wherever you put down the color, it's going to be darker because we're with this brush, we're working with multiply. So you're always going to be painting on shadow when you're adding this brush to something. So typically with sky, it's darker the higher you go up. So it's lighter more near the horizon. So I am just going to paint on some color here towards the top. And also another quirk about this brush, again, because you work in multiply, you kind of have to always keep your brush down and do one single stroke in the area that you want to paint, because if you lift your brush up and put it back down, it's going to layer and you're going to see a seam. So if you want to have a seamless brush stroke in a certain area, you will want to keep your brush down the whole time. I do remember watching one of Kyle's master classes where he was able to erase the seam from this brush, and I felt like it was magic, but I actually don't remember how to do it now. I wish I did. I'll have to try to find that masterclass and brush up on how to do it. You can paint in clear mode with this brush too, and that kind of gives the opposite effect, but that wasn't what he did to fix it. So I'll have to look that up. Smudge tool? Was it smudge tool? Yeah, I don't remember. It's possible. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to Gouache Perfecto really quick. And I'm gonna go back to my clouds because we kind of missed some spots here. Just gonna kind of fill these guys in a little bit more. Okay, and then I am going to, let's see, I'm going to grab a cream that's a little bit darker, and I am going to, let's see, grab my natural edge painter, and I'm going to lock that transparency. I do a lot of locking transparency when it comes to working with the watercolor brushes, because basically how I work is I just draw in a shape, and then I paint the shading on top of that shape. So as you can see, we're kind of like working in layers, just kind of like slowly building up that color. There we go. And let's see. So I also want to have, I was considering in my head doing the ground as green, like a green color, but since we have this yellow goldenrod grass here, and the idea that this would kind of like be, these two illustrations would be in the same book, right? So we want to carry that over to our new illustration. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this yellow color, and we're gonna block in the ground with different shades of yellow. I think that'll look really nice too, though, just because the blue and the yellow have a nice complement. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna grab Gouache Perfecto again, and we're gonna make a new layer, and we are going to fill in the yellow, or the ground rather, with yellow. But the horizon's about right here. And then we also have the mountains that are separating the ground and the clouds. And I can also come in, I'm not going to do it right now, but a little bit later after we put in some shading and different coloration to the different patches of ground, I also want to kind of like come in here and add in some mist to kind of like have that atmosphere to the background, and that might actually help the roller coaster pop out from the background too, because we don't want to have the background be the same saturation as the foreground, because then it will kind of like all meld together, and it might be a little bit hard to read. So if we can like kind of like push that background back a little bit further with some mist, that might help with the silhouette for the roller coaster. We only have 20 minutes left though, so I am going to try to push through this. I'm actually really enjoying this illustration. It's a lot of fun. It's so different than what I usually do. So thank you guys so much for like pushing me to try something new. Okay. Let's see. How do I want to do this? I think I'm going to just make a new layer, and I am going to grab this yellow color, and I'm going to darken it. I'm going to hue slide it just a little bit over to the orange, just slightly saturate it a little bit. And I'm just going to come in and make some squares that are a little bit more on the orangey side. Or maybe not. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just go ahead and use the watercolor brush to do that effect. Let's go ahead and grab our natural edge painter. I think I must have grabbed the wrong base color. So I'm going to fill the, oops, I'm still on multiply here. I'm going to go back to normal. There we go. It's a little bit, you probably can't even tell the difference. It's not a much difference, but I could tell that there was kind of something going on there. So let's go ahead and push the edges. I'm also, let's see, I'm going to make this a little bit darker here and a little bit darker down here first. I'm going to kind of give this scene a little bit of a vignette to kind of like just darken the edges overall. And then we can come in and individually paint out these squares. And since it's the background too, it's really far away. It's really far away. So all of these little like scenes back here, like these little pieces of land, like you don't need to add a ton of detail, right? Like our brains will kind of like connect the dots, like, oh, that's the ground. This is a roller coaster. Roller coasters are high up off the ground. Like we've seen these scenes before with like these, you know, patches of farmland. These things exist in real life. So like our brain kind of connects the dots, like, and you don't need to add in a super ton of detail. So I'm just going to like paint in these little like stripes of land here, kind of like the farm rows. And I'm gonna do it on this one. And I'm also gonna grab I'm gonna grab a darker color. Like a patch quilt. It does look like a little patch quilt. I feel like that kind of gives a little bit more of a homely feeling too. I don't want to go too dark off into the distance. I'd rather have the ones that are a little bit closer up be darker just because of the way that atmosphere works. So I'm gonna push these to be a little bit darker. And also another really cool technique that you can do. You think about how, so these clouds here are in the background, but there are also clouds everywhere over the atmosphere, right? So you can actually come in here if you're doing like a scene from far away. Don't forget to add in those little like cloud silhouette shadows. Wow, I forgot the word shadow for a second. Shadows on the ground. That really helps kind of like build the depth too. And like if we wanted to, we could also, if we wanted to come back in here and we could draw some little cloud shapes. And it kind of just like helps, like drawing clouds lower to the ground like this really helps amplify the idea that like, wow, we're really high up. This is like a crazy roller coaster, fun times, you know, that kind of thing. Kind of really helps sell the idea that you're really high up. Let's kind of like give these edges of these clouds some nice like light airbrushed, some dry brush textures here to kind of give a little bit more of a painterly look. I'll just kind of like figuring these clouds out on a whim here because I wasn't planning on doing this. Well, I really wasn't planning on doing any of this, so so this is working out. Okay, cool. I like that. Let's put one over here too. Just one last little peak of a cloud right over here. Cool. That looks good. Okay, so now we also want to make sure that we put in the trees as well. But I'm going to go back to our watercolor brush to do that because I don't want it to be like super detailed. I want those trees to kind of just like be little shapes. And you know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it in the same color as our ground. Just gonna be some little shapes. Really simple. I could, just to define it just slightly, I might add in just the slightest little bit of line work. But we'll see. What do you guys think? Do you think that it reads well? Obviously, the roller coaster isn't done, so it doesn't really read very well right now. But I think that once the roller coaster is done, it might read a little bit better. But what do you guys think right now? Like, do you think that it reads as like the ground? Like if I pull up this sketch, then we can see what we got going on here. it's kind of hard to like visualize, like, because the roller coaster is going to have more line work and detail. So like something like I was explaining earlier, something that's really far away like this, you don't really want to have a ton of detail, but so it's kind of like a really difficult question to ask you guys right now because it's hard to like visualize the illustration when it's not complete. Here, I guess I can take the sketch off. There. So if I take the sketch off, and also we need to add in our little mountains here. So that might help kind of define the horizon as well. So let's go ahead and do that. If we turn our sketch back on, let's turn our sketch down just a little bit and get rid of our clouds so we can see that. And then we're going to make a new layer over top of our clouds. And we'll put on our little mountains. Actually, you know what? I do want these to be lighter. Put in our little mountains. Our happy little mountains. Ah, we have less than 10 minutes left. Ah! Okay. I just want to really get this solidified here. Okay, let's turn our clouds back on and let's turn our sketch off. Okay. Let's see. Let's check our values. I'm thinking that, yeah. I'm thinking that these values are not good enough. So let's fill this out just a little bit because it's not solid. Let's turn the color, let's saturate and darken a little bit so we can have a little bit more of a contrast between the mountains and the, actually, let's see here. Let's actually just make them darker and then we'll come in with, nope, that's not a good contrast either. Okay, let's go with darker mountains like I was originally going to do. Okay, let's try that. And also, let's go in with an even darker color. And let's lock the transparency and we can kind of give a little bit of a definition to, now it kind of just looks like sand dunes, but that's fine. Okay, a little bit of definition. And also, once again, we are going to go over top. I don't, do I want it to be over top of the clouds that we have? I don't think so. I am going to come in with this 500 giant real watercolor brush. And I am just going to pull in, I'm going to start with the cream color and see how this works. Time check. We got a little bit time left and we are just going to, oh, this needs to be above the mountains actually. So let's just pull that over there. And let's see, I might change. Screen looks all right, not overlay. That's not really what we're looking for. Soft light is all right. Linear light is all right. I could just turn down the opacity a little bit. And also, if I take this color here, and I'm gonna make a new layer. Love these colors. Oh, thank you so much. And I am going to change that to a multiply layer. And we can kind of help. Oops, this needs to be underneath these clouds, definitely. Or maybe not. Yes. And we are just going to kind of help this vignette a little bit. Okay. Okay, let's just for the last couple of minutes we have here, let's paint in the roller coaster silhouette just so we can have an idea of what it would look like. I'm just going to go ahead and use this brown color just because it's a wooden roller coaster and that will just be the easiest thing to pop in. And I guess we actually don't have very much time left. I don't know if I'll be able to do that because I actually have to do my outro now. All right, you guys, I'm so sorry we couldn't finish this, but I had a lot of fun today. And please catch me next week on Tuesday because we will be doing I believe our next theme is salmon fishing. And we're going to be doing a little forest scene with bears fishing in a river. So yeah, don't forget to catch me next week. And thank you all so much for joining us, and come back to tomorrow for more Adobe Live. I'll see you guys later. Bye.